All right, guys, we decided to do an impromptu down the rabbit hole. It's kind of out of our normal sequence. Colin has some stuff he just has to get off his chest, and I decided that we go ahead and play along. What did you say, Colin?
Let's play along.
He
No,
wants
I
to
was.
he wants to explore tonight what basically was his big reveal. What did you call it that?
I mean, it's called Down the Rabbit Hole. So what was, Alice was wandering around with on a picnic and saw a white rabbit and chased it down a rabbit hole and into Neverland. So everyone has that white rabbit that they chase, and I'm going to talk about my white rabbit.
All right. So what's your white rabbit? Let's get after this.
Undescribable evil, the likes of which I've never seen or encountered before in human history.
Well, that's pretty heavy to start out with.
Yeah, we'll lead
Let's
up
give
to
her.
that.
What's the reference point? Where did you start your channel of it? Or, I mean, your focus towards adventure. Where did you were adventuring and then you found this revelation? I would say.
Yeah, I mean, I've always been that kind of. I was very conservative as a kid in the sense of I was risk averse. I still have elements of that, but I realized in my teenage years that being risk averse actually is the more risky notion. You have to be able to take risks and have adventures to go out and see the world as it is. And I didn't want some narrative. I didn't want somebody to tell me how it all worked. I wanted to see it for myself. So whenever adventure or opportunity opened itself up, I would take it, whether it be on mission trips or studying abroad for a year in Europe or,
You were
the country.
you were a foreign exchange student for a while too.
Yeah, for about a year and 4 months in Germany.
What part of Germany were you in?
Trier was the city. It's an old Roman town. It still has a Colosseum actually nearby. It's like an hour out of the city. Old Roman arches. It was like the frontier of Roman civilization in that area for a long time. There's a massive labyrinth of ruins underneath the city that you can kind of go down and look at. It's an amazing place. It's right on the border of Luxembourg. Hour and a half train ride to Paris. So it's kind of like right in the middle of Germany, France, kind of that whole area, and full countryside. But anyway, I don't want to really talk about that. The point is I went all over South America, Machu Picchu, seen ancient ruins.
You've been to
I've always
Machu
been.
Picchu?
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
I've always wanted to go there. It's on my bucket list.
Yeah, it's incredible. There's many sites like that, but not like that. That's a particularly unique site. The mountains. You ever seen that movie, The Emperor's New Groove?
Yeah,
That Disney movie. The mountains are like rolly like that, like in the cartoon. They're like comically rolly. Like
yeah.
they're not even mountains. They look like hills. That's literally what they look like. They're like rounded hills. It's the weirdest thing I've ever seen. While we were there, I went to Lake Titicaca, which was there's a tribe that when the Spanish came, they actually, the story is they built a raft of reeds, went out into this lake that's called Titicaca, haha, and there's like a whole town out in the middle of this lake on an island of woven reeds, and they just keep weaving new reeds, making huts out of reeds, boats out of reeds.
Yeah,
It's
I watched the guys that were called Expedition Overland. They went down there and were talking all about that.
it's so cool. They got old muskets from the Spanish they just carry around. I'm like, that's from the 1600s. Like, what are you doing?
Get you some newer stuff, man. We
Yeah,
can
we
get
can
newer
use some
stuff.
newer stuff. Yeah, but
Anyways,
anyway, the point is, whenever adventure knocked, I always answered because what's the point of this life if you're not going to explore and see new things?
yeah. So what was the chain of events that got you onto this whole thing? Like because you kind of went off the deep end for a little bit.
Big time.
Yeah.
I'm still probably off the deep end. I've just figured out how to be civilized. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
I'm not that I'm crazy, but I've realized everyone else is crazy. So what does that make me?
Yeah. Okay.
It's like Well, I'm still crazy, but to what degree? Anyway, in college, I always wanted to be of service and help people. Like, a lot of kids have that impulse in the beginning until they get corrupted by the world. And I still hang on to that. I still want to be of service and help people. I don't want to waste my life.
Well, that's
I
the
know we have,
reason you're a home builder.
yeah, one of the last few honest occupations left in this country. There's an opportunity to be honest anyway. A lot of builders and contractors lie. They're famous for that, and we just don't do that. So that's why I like it, honestly. So when I was in college, obviously things open up. Your aperture, the world opens up, and I go, what's the worst thing in the world that I might be able to focus my attention on to help with? And then child trafficking came up, especially in the Lincoln, Omaha area.
Really? There's child trafficking and...
Oh, stop. Omaha, it's the hub of the country. Crossroads. It's massive trafficking. It's horrible. Like, it's absolutely out of control, but it's out of control everywhere. It is one of the most complex crimes to solve or to even do anything about, because once these kids get roped into this, they quickly get brainwashed and their survival mechanism kicks in, and Stockholm syndrome kicks in, and they start becoming a part of the gang, and they start becoming little sociopaths, and they start doing the same thing and start roping in their own people. It's like this giant pyramid scheme. And they don't want out after a while because they realize they've lost their soul to it. So it's a giant predation system designed to destroy innocence and any sense of consciousness within the individual. And the law enforcement really doesn't know what to do about it. Because even if you get these kids out, 9 times out of 10 they run back at the moment chance they get. Because it's all they know.
Yeah, okay.
And it's an incredibly complex problem to solve. I joined some group.
How did you come across it?
I asked myself I lived a pretty hedonistic life before because I was kind of the odd man out in high school. I didn't have a ton of friends. Senior year, junior year, I had a few more friends, but I wanted to fit in, and I've always tried to fit in, like most kids try to, but I just had the voice always in my head telling me what to do, and I look at everyone else and I'm trying to drown the voice out, follow everyone else's cues so that I can have friends or girls like you or whatever, standard teenage crap. And I did that in high school for a while. College came around and it's like a chance to reinvent yourself. Yeah. So partied, had a good time freshman year.
Where'd you go to college?
Nebraska Wesleyan in Lincoln, Nebraska. Just a little private school, but
you didn't go to Union? Oh, okay.
Absolutely not.
Okay, I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah. Didn't get a scholarship for it anyway. I got one for Wesleyan. Not much, but it was something. Still crazy expensive.
Yeah.
So basically I, hit rock bottom there. Went atheist for like a week. Experimented with it because I wasn't sure God existed anymore. Like I just thought this is all we had was our lived experience. That led me to a dark place very quickly, and I ended up getting a DUI in my freshman year. And that
you got a DUI?
Yeah, when I was 19. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Damn, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and in my grandpa's truck.
What?
Yeah.
All right, so James Dean, rebel without a cause over here.
So I woke up pretty. It took me a minute. Sophomore year wasn't that much. It was better, but my junior and senior year, I really locked in and I got my stuff done. Well, my senior year, I studied abroad. Junior year, I did really good. I ended up graduating with honors, and I got a really good GPA. I did the best I could, even though I screwed up my freshman year so badly. But I pulled out of that nosedive, and I learned a lot, I guess. Anyway, through that process of self-healing, I wanted to, find ways to be of service, and child trafficking came across my radar. I'm like, well, that's the most horrible thing I've ever heard of. Let's see if we can do something about that.
Yeah.
And all the groups that I got involved in with, they were It was like spreading awareness, which is good. It was especially back then because no one knew about this. But there wasn't like, once you realize what law enforcement was capable of doing, they pretty much let it happen, is what you realize. And you realize like a lot, this is a political problem.
Yeah.
If there was a desire to allocate resources to cut these networks off, it would be done pretty quickly. For whatever reason, there wasn't. Skip ahead 5 years, well, not 5 years, 3 years later, I think, Epstein was killed. And, child trafficking was always something.
I forgot how much younger you are than me. Yeah. Okay. This is like the early teens, right? When you
No. I was in my late 20s. I mean, mid 20s at this point when Epstein happened. I think I was like 26, 27.
Okay. So
That happened. And so I'm like, oh, so our government is funding child sex operations to gather blackmail.
Well, yeah, it's I think it's he was working with the more I've looked into it, the more I come across that Epstein was working for CIA. I think I even read somewhere that he was kind of an asset of French intelligence, and what was the other one? MI6.
Yeah, when you study the intelligence networks and how they work, they're called networks for a reason. There's a lot of overlap in the Western world. Yeah, they all lie to each other, but at the end of the day, when it comes to high value assets and people that are like maitre d's to gather high value assets, like celebrities, scientists, high profile people, there's a lot of Epsteins out there. Epstein isn't the only one. There's a lot. And I always knew that there was something like that going on, but I didn't realize how deep and how pervasive it was. And once you're encountered, and I'm kind of one of those people that when I'm encountered with a moral dilemma, I take it personally. When I pay taxes into a government that is funding child rape for torture and murder for blackmail, that's my fault. That's how my brain thinks.
Yeah.
And,
yeah, okay.
And I was reading Solzhenitsyn at the time, and Jordan Peterson was coming on the scene, and I'd always been interested in the Cold War and World War II and all that stuff, and seeing the horror of what humans could do to each other impacted me very deeply in my guts. Like I remember I watched that movie Gods and Generals with my dad, and this is like one of the first times it's a terrible movie. It's not well made. It's a really stupid movie. But there's a scene, I don't know what battle it was, but it was like Irish...
What's the movie name?
Gods and Generals.
Gods in General.
I begged my dad to take me to it. I was like 10 years old or something. And it was like a rated R movie. He took me with him. So I'm like, it's a Civil War movie, Dad. I gotta see it. It looks so good. I'm like, let me please. I want to go see the Civil War movie. And Stonewall Jackson was leading his brigade, and they had the Irish out in front. The Union and the Confederates both did. And this is where he got the famous name Stonewall Jackson. And they both knew, like, it was kind of perceived in the scene that both sides knew each other. And they were crying while they were shooting at each other. Like, they were family members, and they were shooting and killing each other. And they were all weeping, like they didn't want to do it. And I had to leave and go to the bathroom, and I threw up.
Mm-hmm.
Because I didn't, it's a new depth of hell that I had not understood or encountered. I thought the Civil War was, it's like in the cartoon, like in the books, people neatly lining up and shoot, and falling bravely, It's like, no, it's like, I literally threw up. But my dad...
I've been reading that book, what's it called? It's about... Oh, God, I can't think of the name. Anyways, it's about, like, the Confederate Secret Service and all their stuff. I told you about it.
Yeah, The Unvanquished.
Yeah, there you go, Unvanquished.
Yeah, Patrick K. O'Donnell. Recommend all his books.
That guy's
He's an amazing writer.
Yeah.
He's the best American wartime historian, period. Bannon has him on all the time. He's incredible.
I heard him on the Jack Carr podcast. Jack Carr is one of my favorite authors.
Yeah, Jack Carr's great. I don't listen to him a lot, but yeah, no, Patrick K. O'Donnell is, and you can't go wrong with any of his books. The story of the unknown soldier and the unknown soldier's tomb. He does a great chronology of that event and how that came about. It's beautiful. He did one on Washington Special Forces. I forgot the name of it. It's an amazing book. It's basically
Is that
talks
about the
like,
Rangers, Washington's Rangers?
I think so. I'm not sure. I haven't read it yet. It's one of those I want to like, but I'm looking forward to that one. That'll be good. He came out with it a couple years ago. Anyway, I've always had this drive within me, whatever the right thing seems to do, and I get this, I think, a lot from my dad. I've always admired him. He just, whenever he's faced with like a moral dilemma, he pretty much always does his best to do the right thing.
He turns into the problem.
Yeah, he's not a coward. He just steers straight into the storm and goes right after it.
Yeah.
And he doesn't back off, and I've always admired that about him. And, I mean, I'm so grateful to have him as a father. He's the best. I've learned a lot from him, and his personal courage, his moral courage, his physical courage. There's very few fathers out there that are like that.
Yeah.
So I think I get that from him. I get my stubbornness and my issues maybe from other places, but anyway, I won't go there.
Well, but okay, so you went down this thing. You were trying to stop child sex trafficking. That was your.
I wanted to understand the problem first, and
Yeah.
I didn't have any illusions like, oh, I'm going to stop it. But it's like, you put your shoulder to it. You do what you can to stop the worst thing that's happening around you. But it was an unsurmountable problem at the time. I didn't know how to even get my teeth. I still don't really know what to do because it's a political problem. It requires political will at the local level to do anything.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You got to take over your sheriff's office. And make that a priority. That's the only way to do it. Go ahead. Sorry, you were asking something.
So you went down the road of enlightenment. How did you end up going to the Proud Boys and ending up in Washington, D.C.? And what was the path that took you down that?
Yeah, I mean, it's like another adventure. I didn't know anything about the Proud Boys. I'm not currently one. I join all the little groups and little subsects of anybody that was remotely awake to the fact that we were under attack. And once COVID happened, and this was post-Epstein, so I was already like, okay, the government is running sex ring operations. And here's how I know this. Cindy McCain, I'll just do a little tangent here. Cindy McCain, you can look this up on YouTube. She was speaking at a human trafficking event on stage. It's like a whole event for human trafficking. And she literally gets up there and says, we all knew what Epstein was doing. It was out in the open. We knew it. But what could we do? He was too connected. He was too powerful. This is Cindy McCain saying this, the wife of John McCain.
Yeah.
Going, what could we do? He's too well connected. He was a Senate Majority Leader. What do you, I said a plethora of curse words, cursing her, and just, I still get angry thinking about it. And this is the problem. These people believe they have zero responsibility for any of their actions. And to the point where they're willing to even just say it out loud. Oh yeah, we knew that they were running child sex operations and killing children and raping them and God knows what else. But what could we do? They're too powerful. I don't know. Well, you could have said something.
Yeah, you could have.
But now that he's dead and it's all like, oh, it's out in the open now you got to cover your own ass. It's like, these people are the most revolting scum I've ever encountered. So if you're willing to do that to children, you're capable of doing anything, as far as I'm concerned. I think Genghis Khan probably had a little decorum. He probably wasn't allowing his troops to run around raping. I don't know this, but you know what I mean? It's like tyrannical leaders like, oh yeah, go rape babies or children. That's fine. It probably did happen, honestly. I don't know. I'm just saying, like, there's something about defiling children that's so much worse to me. Or not
The,
worse, but it's at least at par with mass murder.
it's to me, I don't understand the appeal of stealing someone's innocence.
You feel
And
powerful.
yeah,
You
it's
feel
just like,
like it's. You don't want to, but there's a book you can read if you want to understand the mind of these people. It's called Panzram. It's an autobiography of a man that he raped about, I don't know, like 70 men, several women. He was hanged by the neck. This is back in the 1920s during the Depression that he was in prison. And he basically befriended a guard and he gave him his life story. And there's a book called Panzram. So if you want to understand how a sober, sane person, he was not crazy. That's what people don't want to hear. Sane, and you know this book. Would you care to elaborate on Ordinary Men?
oh, that's some scary shit.
It's an important lesson that people need to understand.
Just so we're clear, that's the one where they got the Polish police department, the police officers, and they took them into, the Nazis came in and coerced them to go and kill all the Jews. Is that the same book you're talking about? Yeah, that one was. It's the power of peer pressure. That's a scary book, man. Just the idea that the thing that got me about that book is when they revealed that they never forced anyone to do it, and they said you guys can leave if you want. If you can't handle this, just there's the door. And no one went to the door and left. Or very, very few.
Part of it is, though, once you've started being witnesses to crimes, it's called the Pact of Blood. Once you've made a blood pact and you've done and seen certain things, yeah, they may say, oh yeah, you go to the door, but you're never going to get out. You know what I mean? It's like being jumped into a gang. You've seen too much.
Yeah. Yeah, and then you know, then this whole bullshit about, we were following orders. That was another theme that I kept listening to during a lot of World War II documentaries or the books that, and they were talking to the SS guards and stuff. Was we were just following orders, like.
Yeah. I'm more sympathetic to those Nazi prison camp guards than I am to my fellow Americans right now. They have a better excuse. They were a bunch of peasants ripped out of their farms. A lot of them could barely read. They could barely read.
No.
And just put a rifle in your hand. You guard this. You don't know what's going on. We have the freaking internet.
But the thing that was
we
scary
have
about
mass communication right now.
the thing that's scary is when the guard was talking about they made their bayonet a certain length, so that way, and then they would use it they put it next to their ear, and they would use it because if they shot in a certain spot with their Mauser, it would make less blood and be a way painless. Like the idea that they
German engineering.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then they were talking about.
That's why there's that offset. Is that why?
On the bayonet?
Yeah, I always thought it was weird. It was so wide.
On the German bayonets, yeah.
Yeah,
It's because if you look at some of the bayonets are like a weird length. It was because during World War II, they used that. They said if you put the bayonet next to their ear, like this, then it would space it off perfectly, like it has that bend in it. So that way when they shot them right there's like that little bump on the back of your head.
Yeah.
It's a perfect spot.
Wow.
And that's the reason that some of the bayonets have that bump in it, so that way it spaces it off perfectly. It's like
it's probably viewed as a merciful thing.
Oh yeah. The book is terrifying.
Anyway, that adds to the point though. But what's happened, and once COVID happened, I was because of all my past experiences, I was perfectly primed to be one of the people that clocked immediately what this was, and that this is absolutely an effort this is either a mind control operation or they're trying to kill people. I wasn't sure about the killing people part, until until about a year in. I
The thing,
suspected it.
the thing that was interesting is when you read the book Ordinary Men and how they could get a whole group of people on the same page of bullshit. The whole, because I remember in 20, what was it, 21, they reopened like a zoo up in Albuquerque, and this guy, my mask was like right across the top of my nose, and he stopped me and gave me a ration of shit because it wasn't high enough up. It's like we're all outside. It's an open air zoo. Who gives a crap? But these people definitely fell into that whole realm of self-aggrandizing and self-empowerment. It's like the whole badge heavy bullshit when they come up and it was just like how easily these people got on this power trip. Like, we have the power to tell people what to do because your mask is here and not here on your face.
Over a lot of anger. It still flares a little bit, but I've learned to forgive and realize that not forgive and forget. There's a difference.
Remember.
Oh, I'll never forget. I will never forget.
There's three.
That was the worst. Go ahead.
There's three ways to deal with the problem. You recognize what the problem is. You reconcile it, and then you never forget it. So that way you never go down the path.
Yeah.
And I think March 18th, I marked it down in my calendar. March 18th, 2020 was the last time I ever walked into Walmart until I think it was like 22 or 23. Went like 2.5 years without going into a Walmart.
Yeah, no, I did the same thing. I didn't go in any of these, but I hated them so much. Because it was beyond totalitarian and evil, and the second thing that really got me, this was the stupidest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. It's like, I get it if you've got like a whole faction of brown shirts with rifles pointing to the back of your head, like, you do this or we'll kill you. This was all self-inflicted by the people that I never would have imagined would ever fall for or go along with something like this. I was dumb. I thought that if this kind of totalitarian system ever instantiated itself in our world, that we'd stand up and say, go fuck yourself. I ran for office twice in city council to try to stop this in Cedar Park, just north of Austin, Texas, for that reason alone. Because these people were putting plexiglass up for people that were speaking at city council meetings, making them wear masks. All the people on their dais, none of them had to wear a mask if they didn't want to. No plexiglass. It was just the biggest power move. Makes you want to throw up.
I knew we had a problem.
These same people are running our local governments all over this country. The same frickin' people.
Well, I completely agree. I knew we had a problem with the whole, like, herd mentality that was coming out during that time when people literally believed that you could sit at your table without a mask and be okay, but walking from the tables, you had to put your mask on. It's like, how can this...
I think 10% of people actually believe that because there's at least 10% of this people. But the scarier thing is everyone knew it was bullshit. They did it anyway.
Yeah.
That's what scares me more.
Yeah, the thing that scares me is how history repeated itself. There's this podcast that we're both Seventh-day Adventists or Reformed Seventh-day Adventists, and I listened to the Adventist podcast, a History of the Adventist Church podcast. And during World War II, the Adventist Church completely capitulated to the Nazis, and they were willing to do everything. The whole better thee than me kind of crap. Well, they're only going after that group. And how immediately, that's when I started having a problem with my faith in the whole church, when they completely gave in to the whole remote God, it just pisses.
You gotta remember that we didn't know what happened in Nazi Germany until well after the war. I mean, the troops that were there were shocked. Like, everyone wants to look back and think, oh, the Nazis were bad. We had plenty of there's a lot of Germans in this country. And a lot of them went back to the fatherland to go fight for their sovereignty. And it was a patriotic war to them. It had nothing to do with ethnic cleansing or anything. They were going up against a Eurocentric powers bloc. And I am not saying the Nazis were good guys. This was another giant game of the banks. All sides were wrong.
Yeah.
But the Nazis, it was never going to work. They were set up to fail from the beginning. It was always going to fail. It was never... The only way that it would have worked is if Britain actually cut a deal with them and allowed them to take over the continent. That's the only way it would have worked.
I don't know. They were pretty close to taking over the continent without...
Well, yeah. Look, you can occupy it temporarily, but can you administrate?
Well, we've talked about that in the past.
You can't. It's really tough to administrate cultures, especially old ones.
Well, how do you explain this? Well, they did a pretty damn good job trying.
I mean, yeah. I mean, shock and awe, you can get a lot of stuff done pretty quickly, but can you stay? I mean, with all our technology and all our money and our vastless, all our resources, we couldn't even conquer rinky-ass Afghanistan.
Wow.
Iraq,
Just ask Alexander the Great about that, though.
No, there's very good reasons as to why, but even in the modern age, when you got... Alexander did not have air support, you know what I mean? Or satellites, or
There's a reason they call it the Death of Nations, Afghanistan.
I know, but they thought they could beat it this time. Anyway.
I mean, the Germans went in there, the Alexander the Great went in there, everyone, so many different groups of people have tried to conquer that little piece of hell.
That's a separate, but real quick, the reason is, it's about consolidating the Eurasian landmass. It's called the Middle East for a reason, and that's a British term. They don't obviously refer to themselves that way. All those countries were carved up by the British Empire post-World War I.
Yeah. Iraq.
And
I remember seeing
they're all fake countries. They don't even really, like, the people...
Well, Britain ruled that whole area. That's the reason when the...
Well, because they're good administrators. They know how to work a population. They know how to, get in with the local... they had a lot of money, a lot of shiny trinkets, a lot of access to markets. So they buy out the elite.
Well, yeah, look at what they did during the Bush Wars down there in Africa. They were pretty powerful.
Oh, yeah.
They went down there and they just, the British government has killed way more people than the Nazi government even thought of.
Absolutely. Where's my book? I like showing that book because it can't be shown enough. Oh, it's around here somewhere. I'll find it. Anyway, The Anglo-American Establishment is a fantastic book.
Well, what's really cool is if you ever want to read a really good history book, read about the Scylla Scouts down there in Rio Rhodesia.
This is about that, but it's from here we go. Yeah. This is from the administrator's perspective of how to manage a global empire. Okay? So that guy right there, that'll tell you how it works. And it's pretty simple, and you don't need that many people. You just need access to markets, liquidity, transportation, communications.
So what you're telling me here is greed wins out overall, after all?
No, logistics wins out overall.
Well, I mean, yeah, logistics wins all wars, but...
Everyone's greedy, but the one who has logistics wins.
It's one thing about the British. Those island guys, they knew how to move ships. They are logistical.
Yep. Yeah. That in combination with the Dutch. But anyway, the point is, with COVID, it was very obvious to me this was a population control effort. And people can... That's a loaded term. It's like, what do you mean population control? Were they purposely trying to kill us? You can go tired of pretending that's not the case at this point because there's so much evidence at this point. Senator Mike Johnson has done countless hearings on this. It's clear the pharmaceutical companies knew what they were doing and knew there was harm, and they kept doing it anyway. They know that viral load had I'm not going to get into the specifics of this. We can go into this on a later date. There's been plenty of good work done on this. I'm happy to do a presentation on that. Forget about the vaccine. Forget about all that. Mike Johnson actually just had a mom come up to him in public, and she said, "My daughter was killed by the." We need answers. What happened? We gave it to her and she died. And he, you know what he said? He said, "Yes, we've been getting a lot of reports about this. Yes, a lot of people have died, and the media covered it up. There was massive censorship. You were censored, young ma'am. And we're working right now to figure out what happened and who was responsible." That was Mike Johnson. Polly Pockets Mike Johnson saying that.
Yeah.
Did you see that?
The only thing I keep coming back to, the more I dig into all of this stuff. Hold on one second. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. Oh, sorry, my Nemo the cat. The only thing I keep coming back to with all the great revelation that I've had, everything's lying. There is no truth out there. It just keeps coming back. Every politician's full of shit, and everyone's lying.
If everything's a lie, then there's no point in even talking about it.
Well, that's what they've encouraged everyone to realize that.
Exactly. William Casey told Ronald Reagan, famously in the White House, that we know our mission. William Casey, former head of the CIA.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
That we know our mission will be complete when the American people believe everything's a lie.
Well, that's what ended the Soviet Union, when people stopped buying the lie. That's when it all fell apart.
Yeah, it's a weird statement. I always was like, why would he tell Reagan that? Was Reagan in on it, or is this a strategy to make it so absurd that people would wake up? I don't know. That's like 60 chess. And I don't give these people that much credit.
No,
I mean the amount of crimes they've committed is.
Well, we have a group called the Institute of Peace, and they were paying terrorists.
Oh, you're watching Mike Benz?
Oh,
yeah, Mike Benz is pretty good.
No, I don't know who that is, but I just know that I keep reading the Doge reports that come out. Sean Ryan, it was that one CIA targeter that he has talking about it.
Yeah,
they were
Sarah
talking
Adams.
about they couldn't figure out where the money was coming from, but they were talking about. I remember 2 years ago when they were telling, but them paying off the terrorists over there.
It's really stupid. Go ahead. Sorry.
No. You go ahead.
My former soft guys and CIA people are the most frustrating people. I'm glad they're at least talking about it to at least make people think. We knew we were paying for Al-Qaeda, and all these groups. They manifested out of our State Department or our NGO groups. This was known 20 years ago.
I encountered the Afghanis in person. I was there. I encountered these people when they were over here at Holloman Air Force Base, and we were building up all their. We built all these fences, and they couldn't say that. Here's a little side note. So, Holloman Air Force Base is a secured facility. We had to build 3 miles of fence down the runways to keep the Afghanis from running across the goddamn runways. And they said it was because they were having animal incursions, so that's how we got funding from the State Department. No, the Department of Defense to put that fence up around there. And they literally came to these guys and they go, "We need a fence around this." And this guy builds buildings. He didn't want to no part with a fence, so he threw out a stupid high number. It was so stupid, I can't even remember it. And they threw up a fence all the way around there. And if you look, We put in a whole compound of shipping containers and stuff down there at Holloman. And when I encountered all the Afghanis, I knew there's no way they vetted any of those people, and they're all in our country now. They could just go to the goddamn gate there at Holloman Air Force Base and just walk the hell out. There was nothing they did to even stop them from leaving that. And you want to talk about child trafficking? There were adult males in there that had children with them that had no business having children. When I saw all that shit going on, it just fucking infuriated me. I'm sorry for cussing, but it's just being part of that project.
I don't have a lot of good words to use for this, so yeah, the fuck word is perfectly appropriate for this.
It was a complete mess when we were watching them fly those C-130s in. Not C-130s, the C-17s came flying into Holloman. Started dropping all those people off.
I'm listening. Keep going.
So, I mean, I've encountered the Afghanis personally, and that was such a mess. And all those poor young Marines that got killed over there. It was a sacrifice to the gods of stupidity.
Yeah, but think about, the estimates are 14 million people were killed in the GWAT. 14 million. For what?
We had no business being in Iraq.
For what?
We had no business being there. And the thing that really pisses me off is I had drunk the Kool-Aid so much that I backed Bush. I remember telling my parents, I'm like, I'm so glad that Bush had this 9/11 over Gore. What would have Gore have done? And it's just, Bush is such a piece of shit. He got 7,000 Americans killed, 7,000 to 9,000 Americans killed, because Daddy went in there and they sent an assassin after his daddy. And it's
all lies. The whole thing was
bullshit. And that's the whole thing. Republicans, Democrats, it doesn't matter. They're all lying to us, and that's where I come up to this whole thing. It's all lies. I've seen I've driven past Epstein's compound here in here in New Mexico, and you can't tell me.
Really?
Oh yeah, the ranch up there by Taos.
Yeah, it was in New Mexico though. You're right. That's reportedly like where he's got a whole lab under there.
Oh yeah, I've never been in it, but I've driven past it, and that fancy, quote unquote, fancy whorehouse out in the middle of the fucking desert. And the governor of New Mexico was in on it. Richardson knew what was going on out there. He was buddies with him. And I would never... And he gets on his high horse. He spends all that money so he can get some crap wing of a hospital named after him, and he tries to look all pure and righteous.
Let me... I'm gonna share... This is a 2-minute clip. I'm gonna take a risk here, because we've had problems with audio, but I'm gonna try this. I think it's worth it.
Go for it, man.
I'm sure you've seen this.
10 days after 9/11, I went through the Pentagon and I saw Secretary Rumsfeld and Deputy Secretary Wolfowitz. I went downstairs just to say hello to some of the people on the Joint Staff who used to work for me. And one of the generals called me in. He said, "Sir, you got to come in. You got to come in and talk to me a second." I said, "Well, you're too busy." He said, No. He says, "We've made the decision. We're going to war with Iraq." This was on or about the 20th of September. I said, "We're going to war with Iraq. Why?" He said, "I don't know." He said, "I guess they don't know what else to do." So I said, "Well, did they find some information connecting Saddam to Al-Qaeda?" He said, No. He says, "There's nothing new that way. They just made the decision to go to war with Iraq." He said, "I guess it's like we don't know what to do about terrorists, but we've got a good military and we can take down governments." And he said, "I guess if the only tool you have is a hammer, every problem has to look like a nail." So I came back to see him a few weeks later, and by that time we were bombing in Afghanistan. I said, "Are we still going to war with Iraq?" And he said, "Oh, it's worse than that." He said, he reached over on his desk, he picked up a piece of paper, he said, I just got this down from upstairs, meaning the Secretary of Defense office today, and he said, "This is a memo that describes how we're going to take out 7 countries in 5 years, starting with Iraq and then Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and finishing off Iran.
So that's General Wesley Clark
Yeah.
saying that quite a long, like 2007. So we're not going to get into that tonight, obviously, but the point is, there's bigger games afoot here, and if you still, nobody I know thinks COVID was an organic event. I don't know a single person in my personal life that goes, like, they'll say it quietly. But this is one of those things, like what, it's like the Cultural Revolution in China. It's like how it's actually different. The Germans talk about the Nazi occupation all the time because they never want that to repeat again. And they've been taught in their schools that they're bad because they were once Nazis. So, if anything, they went overboard on it. We have not, the United States needs to have an ego death. We need to get over ourselves, and we need to look within ourselves and realize we are an amazing country. We're worth fighting for, but the people that run it, there is a system, there is a plan, there is a way that this all works, there is an infrastructure. It is my intention right now, with the rest of the time that I have with my life, to either do whatever I can to stop it or fight it. And I'm not going to be some magnanimous person. I'm one of millions of people around the world that have dedicated their lives, their fortune, and their sacred honor to stopping this non-violently, peacefully, and really it comes down to you as individuals deciding, am I going to sit here and watch the game, or am I going to take personal responsibility for the millions? We are the biggest market. Now, I don't believe this. I think the Chinese have a major problem, but in terms of numbers that's out publicly, we're the biggest market for child rape in this country.
We have sex tourism that go over to Thailand and go rape young girls.
Yeah, but I'm saying that in terms of trafficking slaves, we have more slavery in this country than we ever did during the Civil War. And they're children.
Yeah.
In Texas alone, we estimate it's at least, and this was like 10 years ago. These are the numbers I'm going off of. It's probably, God knows what it is now. It was 350,000 kids in Texas.
350,000?
Being sold and marketed for rape. Yeah.
Yeah.
Those were DPS numbers back then. Now, God knows, it's probably doubled. Who knows? And if you think you're going to be safe in a country like that, that allows something like that to happen, and you get to just sit there on your couch and watch the game and pretend this isn't happening, if that was your daughter or your son, you need to start acting as if they are, because they actually are. They are our kids. Those are our kids.
Yeah,
we got to start thinking like that again. For God damn it! Like, it really it infuriates me, but at the same time, it's like I understand. It's like people have been brainwashed. It's hard to get people to care about anything. But if you can't care about that, then just give up. Just be done. Don't watch this. Like, seriously. Sorry. It drives me nuts.
You need to get it out. I mean, that's how you deal with it.
Anyway, that's, so, long story short, the people that are capable of doing that to children, they operate on a different operating system than we do. They want us convinced that there's a limited carrying capacity for the earth, that carbon's going to kill us all, and we need carbon taxes, and we need to all be in electric and monitor everything we do. Look, they absolutely believe in their hearts that they cannot have a certain amount of people in terms of population in the planet, and they need population controls. And you're either going to be caught up in that trap, or you're not. You don't get a choice anymore. You know, Christ said, "I'll spew you out if you are, milk-born." Like, you're not. It's the same thing as being too hot or too cold. I have to pick a side. And I'm not talking about Republican and Democrat. I'm saying spiritually, inside for yourself. You know? And that's where I'm at, and that's what this is all about, and that's what I needed to get off my chest tonight.
Yeah, you were pretty anxious to get that off your chest tonight.
I just wanted to frame what I'm trying to do here. I'm not trying to be some self-aggrandizer thing. I just want to do every time that I get an opportunity to help, like, hammer these people, I'll take it. Even if it's a podcast that gets 100 views. You know what? Great. That's awesome. At least a couple people heard it.
You started in Nebraska by trying to figure out sex trafficking, and that led you down to running for council eventually because you just want to change the environment.
Well, it was in the middle of COVID when they were shutting down businesses and trying to get us to wear masks everywhere. And people don't understand, your city runs its own police department. You run its own law enforcement. It gets to decide, like, your local politics matter in terms of, like, what's done to you and how much taxes are ripped off from you. And the people that run your city are developers. And the only way to stop, like, the people that have big development interests. Every city across this country, that's who runs your city council. Full stop. So
Yeah,
the president can do what he can there. It's fun to watch Trump. Honestly, I love watching. It's awesome. He's doing amazing things. The state, if you watch I'm telling you, the Texas House is just as corrupt as Washington, D.C. It's honestly more absurdly corrupt because we have a Republican majority and the Democrats run all the committees.
Yeah. Well,
they bought out everybody. It's disgusting. The whole thing is disgusting.
I knew that they had just as much problems as everywhere else when was that school shooting down in
Uvalde.
What's that?
Uvalde.
Yeah, when they were doing the bringing everyone in to do the House session on, basically discovering what went wrong there, and I'm sitting there listening to these politicians in Texas, and I'm just like, what a bunch of shit.
There's less than 5 people in the state house of Texas that actually have their souls. The rest of them are demons, as far as I'm concerned. Republican, Democrat alike. There's no Democrats. For whatever it's worth, the Democrats out there that may be hearing this, I don't know what the hell is wrong with you guys. I was not a fan of Republicans growing up. Democrats were a bit more reasonable because at least they were against the Iraq War. I don't know what happened to you guys. You've lost your minds. And that's why this third party is forming, and it's an informal third party, and it's this populist national party. It's got nothing to do with white supremacy. It's got to do with, do you love your country? Do you want to take care of your home and treat your country as if you would your home? It's that simple. Do you want unvetted strangers coming in that you don't know what security risks they may bring? No, you wouldn't do that to your home. You don't do that to your country. Do you want your budget imbalanced? No, you wouldn't do that to your home. You wouldn't do that to your country. That's really this whole common sense thing. That's what it's all about.
The thing I always thought was interesting is these liberals go off about fences. And did you know that the fence that surrounds the
Vatican is like 100 feet high?
No. Not the Vatican. I worked up in Berlin in Los Lunas when they were building the data facility for Facebook. The fence that surrounds that facility looks just like the one we have down on the border. It's an anti-scaling fence. I've often thought about taking my drone down there and flying it around and showing everyone the hypocrisy of Facebook.
If I were you, dude, that's the government. Facebook's the government. Just know that. Like everybody, I know you know that, but I'm just saying. Oh,
they bought some really nice concrete. I'll tell you that, man.
Yeah. The liberals the lefties are right about one thing. We do live in a fascist society, in the sense that corporations have merged with government. The right has been blind to that forever. I think they've awakened to it. Thank God. But the only way to counteract it is at the local level. You can I mean, if you take control of the zoning, you get to control who gets to put their businesses where and how.
Well, they have
You
that
know?
whole community down there in Texas that's specifically for like Arabs or something, or Muslims, that they were trying to put together. I mean, forget what they
Yeah,
were.
no, I've heard about the. Are you thinking about the Colonia? Because that was like for illegals.
Oh yeah, it was other brown people. My bad.
Yeah, no, that was. Yeah, no, they haven't quite started doing that yet, but I've heard rumors that there's plans. Look, I mean, there's mosques going up all over the place. I mean, it's like 50% of our clientele down here are Indians. And I like Indians. I don't have a problem with Indians. But I'm just saying that Americans don't have, because Indians all work for tech companies, pretty much. I mean, all the ones that we worked for, they all work pretty high-paying jobs for tech companies. Now, they're not high-paying, but they're enough for them because they're dang good business people. They know how to, like, squeeze a dollar. And that's kind of the problem. Like, we've lost our mojo.
Well, because they've got everyone in debt. They want everyone to be indebted.
Yeah.
And 1 year.
Everyone wants to live like it's the 80s or the 90s. It's over, folks. Yeah. Party's over.
Yeah. Well.
Anyway.
Well, I'm glad you got that. Yeah.
Yeah, but let me leave on an up note. The beautiful part about the darkness of what we are going through right now is that people are taking awareness within themselves and realizing that we are free agents in this world. That we don't have to be slaves. It's a choice. You don't have to be a part of this. My wife and me, we did a free birth in my home, downstairs in my living room in a swimming pool, because that was safer than going to these hospitals. I know that sounds crazy to most people. We did our firstborn in the hospital. I know it sounds, but it was so outrageous the way they treated us and our kid and how they delivered them. It was absurd. We had a midwife on call. If there was a problem, there were no problems. And when we did all our research, we worked on this every day, and it was perfect. Our child is perfect. There was no problem. It was easier. It was way less painful and way more comfortable for mom. You know, and that's just one of many things. We've now taken our own health into our own responsibility. We are learning how the human body works. We're learning what kind of food is right for the human body. You know, it's like you need to take radical responsibility for yourself in this world, because no one is going to help you or come and save you. Like, daddy's not coming. But there's plenty of people out there that want to help, but you have to help yourself. You know, the good Lord helps those that helps themselves. So
well,
we're going to get through this stronger.
The one thing I appreciate is you've really got me cued in on looking at what's in your food. So I cook only with beef tallow, and then I started going through that whole thing about, like, was it the whole reason we came up with the cooking oils that we had was during World War II. We like Crisco was actually a synthetic gear grease for during World War II, and then when that all went away, they kind of convinced everyone to start eating that instead of lard. And when it got rid of lard, that's when we started having an obesity problem. Lard's bad.
Is your friend. Believe it or not, animal fat is your friend.
Yeah.
Get plenty of salt. You don't need to drink as much water as you think you do. Drink water, but, purify it. Salt, animal fat, animal products that are clean. There's plenty of local markets that are popping up, local producers. Like, this is the way of the future. It's going to be local food producers, and it's more expensive, but you're going to realize you don't need to eat as much as you think. We don't need 3 square meals a day.
The thing that
One
really
or
got
two
me
is enough.
The thing that really got me going was you got to be able to pronounce the names on the packing slip on the back. I started reading all the different ingredients on there, and I couldn't. I'm not saying I'm a scholar or anything, and I have a diverse vocabulary, but when you start hydrogenated whatever, this long list of crap that they have in there, it's just mind blowing.
it's a combination of on purpose. Like, they've allowed this to happen because they want you dumb, sick, lethargic, not thinking, not paying attention to things like what we're talking about. They want you bred in circuses. It's literally, you're under attack. This is modern warfare. What do you do in a siege? You poison the wells. You cut off food supplies. You cut off information. You cut all lines of access to the outside world, and you starve out your enemy. You are in a modern siege right now.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's just
So.
Plus the food tastes better.
It does, yeah.
You know, when you just get rid of all corn oil, you had to figure out how to cook tacos in beef tallow.
It's easy.
Jars, oh yeah, tastes good too.
Yeah, it tastes way better.
And then you get that jar of beef tallow, it's like that big. And you go, oh, that's a lot of oil that comes out of that thing.
Yeah, you don't need much, just a little spoonful. Boop, done.
But anyways, this was an impromptu podcast tonight because you had some stuff on your chest.
Yeah, I want this to be a precursor. I'd like to give people a little context of where I'm coming from. I don't think I've done that, and there's a lot more depth we can go into. I highly encourage people, if you have questions or specific questions, put them out. Something I said that isn't true, correct me, please. I'll correct myself. I want to learn.
We're not here to, we go down some rabbit holes, but realistically, what we want to do is, because everyone's lying, we'd like to find the truth. That's basically what I'm going after, is I want to find the truth. I think this weekend we're going to do a podcast with we're going to bring in and introduce Corey to the podcast. We had a preliminary discussion with him, and I think we all kind of jive on the same page. So, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, if anyone has any suggestions, Corey is he runs he's a hospice minister. So he's there at the end for a lot of people, so death is no stranger to him, and he's a very unique and beautiful soul. I love the guy. I've talked to him at length for a while. He's also very well read, understands a lot about the spiritual world and theology, and if people have any questions or comments or any suggestions of things we could talk about, we're open to it. I'm sure we'll come up with something though.
The thing I thought was interesting is when I started going down the spiritual path with Corey, I feel like I've been under a spiritual attack. I don't know how to explain it other than that. When I started doing some deep diving and research into having him come on here, I mean, I hate to say this to you guys, but we essentially recorded a podcast with him, and it hit some nerves with someone because it went to crap. I mean, the podcast was beautiful. But it didn't. It got deleted, and
it's okay.
No, I can't explain it.
I listened to it, and honestly, it was a little all over the place.
Yeah, we're getting.
We'll make the next one better.
Yeah. No, but I'm just saying that when we started pounding on that drum and bringing some spiritual enlightenment into our podcast, there's been some problems in my personal life that the only thing I can lead it back to is the whole. Being under spiritual attack.
Oh, I see. Yeah, no, totally. That's real.
My focus got pretty screwed up, so had to go decompress up in the northern New Mexico, recenter myself, and even then it wasn't done at being my spirituality wasn't done being attacked. So
it never is until you realize there's no war. The war is already won.
Yeah, I know.
You just get to watch the devil throw his little rocks and you laugh.
Yeah, but he can still put some really big crap in your way and attack your mental health and your self-doubt and a lot of other stuff.
Yeah, but it's, my favorite phrase is, evil is there to make good stronger. Period. That's all it's there for.
Yeah.
So whenever something, like I just had, I'll add this. Real quick, I have not told you about this, Cody. Friend, and I knew him. He committed suicide last week. They were living together, and he's
Did
a young
you find
kid.
that?
Found him, yeah, with Mace, yeah,
Oh my God.
yeah, yeah, and
I used to do first call for a funeral home. So, yeah.
and it's
How's
you
it
know,
doing?
I haven't spoken with him directly yet. I asked Daniel to relay a message. I've been talking to Daniel just because I didn't want to. I'm sure he's overwhelmed with declines and being in that community he's in. I'm sure he's getting it left every which way, but I will absolutely reach out. I'm just trying to give him a little space
Yeah.
for a minute. But I told Daniel, please tell him I'm praying. I'm there with him.
And we're gonna bring Daniel on here eventually.
Yeah, Daniel's incredible. He's my cousin, and he is wicked.
We're all
smart.
cousins.
Yeah, we're all cousins. Yeah, the hillbilly, the hill.
Blood's thicker than water.
Yeah,
Did and them doing with that?
I mean,
You
it's
haven't
like
talked to?
everyone's in shock. That's all. It's like
Did
what do
they
you
not?
do?
Wow.
No, no one knew. No one knew. I mean, nothing was really wrong. He had a girlfriend. He had everything going for him. After talking with Daniel, I don't want to get too much into it.
Yeah, we'll talk off the air.
I suspect a little bit of what may have happened, but I didn't know him that personally, so I don't know. But I know that there's a lot of people out there that want out. I've been one of those. I never would do it because I know that's such a horrible thing to do to your family, and it's extremely selfish. But I understand wanting out. I get it. This whole thing, if you're awake to a degree and you're not spiritually grounded in something, and I'm not talking about religion, I'm talking about truth, yourself, knowing who you are, you will spin out of control and it can kill you. And he was a casualty of war, as far as I'm concerned, because all of this has been done on purpose to demoralize and destroy our people. He was a casualty, and we pray for him, and he's in a much better place, and we love you. We love all of you that are going through something similar. Stick. You need help, reach out. We got people that we can connect you with and you can talk to, but yeah, or reach out to us personally so we can talk to you personally. You see our faces and we care about you.
Yeah, we'll connect you with. You can read. We'll get back with you if you text us. We'll figure out how to get a hold of you. I don't know exactly how, but we'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out. It's the internet.
Yeah, wow, man, that was some deep. Wow, poor kid, man.
He was 25.
25 years old. Oh well, I mean, not all well, but damn.
No, I know. No, I know. It's like, look, I mean, there's going to be many like that just give up, that don't have, because everyone's been pretending around them and they don't know a way to see the light. They just feel trapped. And that's why being deadly honest about things is kind of the way out of this. There's no other way. We got to be very honest, no matter how hard it is.
Well, I do believe the devil's out there working against us, so we got to
big time, absolutely. But Christ is always there to redeem, and don't be afraid. And when I say that, I mean the universal connection of love that binds all of us together. We are all a part of this massive conscious experience. We don't know everything about it, but I know that none of us are here on accident. So,
well, the one thing
I don't think death is the end. I have a sneaking suspicion death is not the end by a long shot. By a long shot. I think we got a lot more to go. So
the thing I find, when I was in the middle of my spiritual attack, I had to remind myself that I had to pray for God to take over again. It always seems like when there's that stuff to happen, starts happening, I start forgetting my grounding, start trying to take control of things I can't control. So, but
point where it's every day, every moment.
Oh yeah,
I have to do it every day and every moment, but I love it now because it's like there's a new world once you open your eyes more clearly.
There's a certain kind of peace too.
It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful, and it takes time. It takes time, and it takes experience. You have to go through the fire.
Oh yeah.
So.
Wow, man, that's some crazy. That poor kid. Well, he's a grown man now, but I mean, I still look at you're still a kid to me.
He's a young guy. That's a lot. That's a lot.
Yeah.
It's hard, to say the least. But he's got a big support group. I'm definitely gonna reach out to him soon, and he better not see this before like I reach out to him. In case you do, I love you, buddy. Just don't worry.
Yeah.
Death's not the end. Death is not the end.
Yeah.
We got a long ways to go. We got this.
Anyways, well, on that note, wow. I don't know where to recover this from there.
There isn't. Let's just end it. I love you all. I love you, Cody.
Oh, I love you too, man. That's the reason we get on here. This weekend we'll link up with Corey again on Saturday. At least that's the plan. We'll see how it all comes together. But we went from sex trafficking to suicide. We covered some gambits on this rabbit hole.
This is man's world. This is real life. It's not a game.
All right, guys, if you got this far, we really appreciate it. Any books mentioned in the podcast will be linked down in the bottom. If you like this, we're also on Spotify. Look for our podcast on Spotify and tell your friends about it. So that way you can listen to it while you're driving. I thought that was pretty cool. We got accepted on the Spotify. That's been a development. It'll just be under the Turning Down the Rabbit Hole. It won't be the whole other part of the channel. Yeah, and if you like, tell your friends about it, and we'll disseminate this, and maybe we can get the word out there. So
we want an ecosystem. Like, make yourself known. Like, we want a community growing here. So
yeah, we're creating a community. We'd also like to interview some people as a collective.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Yeah.
If you guys got some suggestions of anyone you would like us to talk to, or you think would be on the same wavelength as us, definitely comment in put his name in or their name in the comments, and we'll reach out to them and see if we can link up with them. So I'm really excited about this. I've had a lot of fun with the podcast, so it's a good outlet. And as you can see with Colin, he has sometimes he has this need to explode, release some information. So all right, thank you guys, appreciate it.